This is Octavius Miller, CEO, Westcoast Hip Hop Awards. I'm coming up. I Only Touch Greatness podcast. You better tune in. Yeah. My marketing and promotion company did a lot down there, you know what I'm saying? And we, oh my God, it was so, we did shows with Pac and everybody out there, man. Everybody that came from the West, we wind up doing shows with them down South when the South was rising. And so we took hold of that and we embraced them. You know, Master P came to the Bay. He took the game from the Bay, went back to Louisiana and blew No Limit up. And so, we always had that connect, that Southwest connect, you know what I'm saying? And then my brother, my younger brother, which is Seagram Miller, he passed away in 96, but he was one of the first rappers from the West that was actually signed to a major down South when he signed with Rap A Lot, back in the 90s, early 90s. So, so I always had that Southwest connect, but I always had love for the Midwest and the East Coast because I was born in Flint, Michigan and raised in Oakland. But I've always had that soft spot for independence and people that's getting into the business and really wanted to express themselves, whether it was negative or positive. I always took the negative people and put them in positive positions to explain why they're doing what they're doing. And here's some solutions to why they act the way they act, or why they do what they do, whether they selling drugs or pimping or whatever they was there, whatever took them to that road. I want to understand that so then I can explain that to the public. Like, look, this is the environment they're in. This is what they're seeing every day. The reality was people were selling drugs. People was getting rich. People were getting killed. It was crazy times. The 80s and the 90s it was wild. It was fun. It was crazy, and it was manipulative. It was everything that you wanted, but the music kept everybody together. That was the only uniting factor out of all the bullshit that happened between all the different clashes and cliques and this and that. The music was the only thing that people kind of gravitated towards, and they could escape from anything that they want to do. So that's why I stayed in the business. Then I opened up some record stores, had some recording studios. I've done a lot of stuff, man. But my main thing in Oakland and in Portland, Oregon, is that I had record stores, and the record stores were powerful tools that I found out later on. Now I had these stores open and I'm working, and kids would come in and especially young black kids, they were impressed by that because they all the people were either white or Asian that owned these businesses in their neighborhoods, and I was the only black owned business in their neighborhood, and they loved it. The proudest thing for them was that they could come in and say, that I own the business. Yeah, this is my business. I run it, and you can own something too when you get older. And that made them so happy and proud. And I used to give them, so it's a long time ago, I used to give them CDs and cassettes. But I used to give them CDs and cassettes when they brought their report cards to me. Now, if their report cards had A's on them, they was getting free stuff, posters, everything. And then I started, hey, I need to start bringing these artists up here, because we were doing that on the road in LA and the Bay. I was bringing artists, and we were doing autograph sessions or meet and greets, right? But I was like, I need to bring that here. So I started bringing the artists up to do meet and greets from LA, from New York, from Florida, from Texas, from everywhere. I would bring them to my store where they could sign autographs, and the kids would go crazy because they only seen them on videos. They never really seen them in real life, because back then people wasn't really booking shows like that. Right. So they actually got to meet these guys on promo runs, and I was the king of the promo runs. So I would bring everybody up, you know what I'm saying? And I only had one problem. I did with Master P one time, and Master P, he skipped over me. He said he was running late. He had a show in Seattle. And I'm like, man, I got like 200 kids out here waiting for you. He was like, oh man, I'm almost in Seattle. I'm like, bro, come on, bro. So I actually drove up to Seattle because I was hot at him. I was really going to get into it. Man, P was going to really get into it, man. I was like, bro, you got all these kids out here waiting for you. He said, man, I'm sorry. I apologize. And he gave me a gang of like product, like CDs, T-shirts, and all kind of stuff, right? So that's why I got love for P, because even though he did that, he made up for it, you know what I'm saying? And it was beautiful. So I came back and gave the kids all this stuff, man. They was happy, man. They still wanted to see him, but he made up for that thing. But those kind of things and little things, you never know what it's going to produce or who is going to come out of that. So a lot of these cats, they became recording artists later on. They became business owners as the older they got, and and a lot of them became big stars. You know what I mean? They made a lot of money in the business, whether it was becoming a recording artist or becoming an engineer or DJ or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And they all come back and some of them became doctors and lawyers. You know what I mean? They had that entrepreneurial spirit once they met me and what I was doing and what I was about. So
Right.
that's me in a nutshell, man. I'm just
Right.
I'm helping whoever wanted to be helped, and the ones that didn't want to be helped, I showed them the way.
Right. So and am I correct with this too? Was was y'all one of the first ones to start putting the posters up on like the poles and stuff? Was y'all one of
Yeah,
those?
we was one of the founders of that, what I'm saying. But Ice T had a Rhyme Syndicate. They had their the street teams too,
Yeah.
but they were in Southern Cal. I was in Northern Cal, so yeah, I was one of the first ones to do the polls. But what happened was I became a pollologist. Let me tell you this, man. I became the marketing king because
Yeah.
I was winning prizes and for doing displays in stores. You know what I'm saying? And when you see the pyramid, you just walk in and see the pyramid of the posters and
Yeah.
flats and stuff. I used to do that.
Mm.
I used to bend them and make the product 3D. I would 3D it out, man. I got really good at that, right? But
Mm.
so what happened in California, they didn't have a lot of wood like back east where y'all at. Y'all got wood poles everywhere.
Right. Right. Right.
California,
So it's easy for us.
yeah,
Right.
they started taking the wood poles out and they started putting these metal poles in, right? So we couldn't staple nothing to them like that. And I was a staple king, man. My hands are still strong from staple guns all over the years. But what happened was I figured out a way to do it. So I would take the flats, which is the harder posters. They were like almost like cardboard. And I would take those and I would take the smaller stapler and I would staple them together and build like a square out of it.
Square.
And
Right.
then we would just push them up the poles. So it was almost like you was running a campaign for the mayor or the president or the governor
Right.
or whatever. We were doing that, bro, and we was killing them. They was like, oh my god. So the billboard people was tripping because I never really hardly used billboards except in L.A. Because they cost too much. They were expensive. They were like $3,000. And but mine's was more cost effective. So the labels paid me big money to do that. They all try to hire me and try to put me in a cubicle in their record label. I'm like, nah, I'm independent. I work for me. So I did that. I'm still doing it basically 45 years, man. I've been hanging posters, going city to city, hood to hood, state to state, and really getting involved with the community, finding out what their needs were, who did they want me to bring to their city. Then I would hook up with the local promoter there, and then we would work together and we would do shows together like that. And then we were doing national stuff. I was doing national compilations, putting together. I was taking all the best promoters and we're putting together these compilations and pushing them out across the country. This was before mixtapes. So that's what they were. They just wasn't mixed in with a DJ. They were just full songs because a lot of people didn't like DJs talking over their music. Some people just wanted the music. They didn't want a DJ talking. And then we had the ones that the DJs talked over, and some people like those. And I think more people down south like the DJs talking over versus in New York versus everywhere else. So, it worked out and it's beautiful. So I made a lot of money doing that, what I'm saying? A lot of companies paid me, and they didn't really want to pay me, but they would always pay somebody else to do it, but they would never do it. They was too scared to go in the hood to promote. You know what I'm saying? These are my people. I'm promoting. We going there. We in Chicago. We in Cabrini Greens hanging up posters. We everywhere. We in the third ward, fifth ward. We in New Orleans hanging up posters. New Orleans is a scary city. I mean, it just looks scary. You got the graveyards is on top of the ground. Like it's like weird, right?
Right.
But the food is good. The women are beautiful. We had a great time down there. But man, that's one city that's real. It's like Cleveland. Cleveland is real gothic like too. But those are the two weirdest cities I've been in. Chicago is the craziest city because there's so many gangs there. So I just wore white. And when I was in Chicago, or I just wore gray. I just wore all gray or all white. I didn't wear no other colors that was affiliated with. But they got so many gangs there though that. But the only thing that actually saved me from not getting in any funk out there was the music. Everybody loves music, man. That's the great uniter, and that's
Right.
why I do what I do.